All right. I think I am live. Who knows? It's kind of funny because it's not really live. What I'm doing is adjusting my screen so I can look somewhat in the direction of the camera. And I'm looking really scruffy because it's kind of a spur of the moment thing. Basically, I woke up last night at 1 o'clock after going to bed, 9 ish. Going to sleep till 3 or 4:30. Excuse me. And I woke up wide awake. So I had some over the counter sleep aid that I was taking for the last couple of weeks, and I decided to go without it. And so that didn't go well. Excuse me. But why are we here? Today is My Friday 5, a day that sometimes has a video, sometimes it has a newsletter, and oftentimes when I do the video, I look like I haven't shaved for 3 days, my 3 days off, right? So here it is. I got 5 things to talk about. In the past, I've done a Friday 5, and they've been a lot about kind of personal development or my observations about life. But in this case, as I wrote in my newsletter for my newsletter subscribers, it's kind of about whatever's keeping me awake at night, whatever just kind of strikes my fancy, and anything that's interesting as far as news goes. In this case, I actually had to leave out several new developments as far as books being published, because I don't always want to just talk about selling books, even though that's what I do. But I've had several interesting things. So I'll just mention it real briefly in the video. Nathan Heisted just had the Rift audiobook came out. I bought that. We interviewed, what's his first name? Erickson. I think Josh Erickson, who writes Urban Fantasy. He does his own audiobooks. I bought some extra audiobook codes to get his because he sounded so convincing on our Keystroke Medium show and was just really fun to talk to. I've known about the audiobook, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which, of course, I thought, yeah, that's sensational. I already know what it's going to say, blah, 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 blah. But I keep talking about it with this one guy at work. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to give that a try and see what it looks like. So I got that. Basically, I've just been downloading audiobooks like crazy. So for The Last Reaper is up for pre-order. Edge of Valor is up for pre-order for my friend Josh, but that's not the Josh story I'm going to tell. It's about a different audiobook by Josh. We'll get to later in the deal. So here we go. It's kind of freewheeling this. I hope that you like this video. If you're on my newsletter list, I hope you really like the newsletter. I worked really hard on it. Actually had it edited professionally this time, which is kind of cool. I don't know. I never thought that a newsletter should be edited that well, but boy, what I'm saying is much more clear when I do it that way. So the first thing, I'm not going to read off the newsletter, which I have written up. It's Wednesday actually right now, but Friday is a crazy busy day at work for me. I have to get up super early, and I've tried to do a Friday 5 and failed because of my work schedule. And then of course you got, family and life stuff afterwards, excuse me. So I thought, hey, I can't sleep. So why don't I just write this email and then I'll get up in a few hours. Turned out to be about 8 o'clock now, which is crazy late for me to get up. I've been up since 7. Crazy late for me. And I'll do the video and then I'll attach that and people can watch it if they want to and whatnot. It won't have everything that's in the newsletter. The newsletter is much more well crafted and intentional. So I'm kind of rambling, but kind of keep it loose. You know what I mean? So the first thing I want to talk about is the Chronicles of Ken Rowland Omnibus. So that is the entire trilogy for my Chronicles of Ken Rowland. It includes Enemy of Man, Son of Orlan, and Weapons of Earth. It's like in my Word document when I was formatting it is like over 500 pages or something crazy like that. It's like 265,000 words. So if you're somebody who likes to binge read, it'd be a great one to get. It's going to be on sale this Friday, May 31st for 99 cents. It's on a countdown deal. So every some weird division of hours, it's like every 25.3 hours, it goes up a price until it's back to $9.99. So if you would like to read a $10 book for $1 or know somebody who would like military science fiction, who likes the movie Aliens, maybe like some Star Troopers mixed in with their aliens, likes, big, fantastic science fiction worlds, because this happens on a planet that's trapped at the end of a wormhole, and the wormhole is actually encroaching on the planet. Then Chronicles of Ken Rowland Omnibus might be something you want to read or share. So I would love it if you do, or know somebody who does. And if everybody could leave reviews, that'd be fantastic, because reviews are life to authors like me. The second thing, and here's the story we've all been waiting for, is And in my newsletter, it's titled, My Best Friend Josh is Ridiculously Lucky and Surprised. So, a while back, a long time ago, when Josh and I were both police officers, he's since retired and gone to be a full-time author. Good luck to him. And I'm watching his journey and his success. I'm kind of living vicariously and whatnot. It's really awesome. But one of the things that he's done is he's had some more traditional type publishing things. Specifically, one of the collaborations he's working with is going through Audible and doing an Audible exclusive. And what that means is it can only be on audiobook for like 6 months. And I love audiobooks. So that doesn't cause me any problems at all. Not a single tiny bit of a problem for me because I love it. The only problem is, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, is I just bought all kinds of extra credits for my Audible subscription, even though I have a platinum membership and I get 2 a month, and then spend them all on all kinds of books. I don't know when I'm going to listen to all these, but I'm definitely going to listen to Stryker's War that Josh wrote. I also ordered Edge of Valor, which is his solo book that we've also talked about for years and should be brilliant. And then I pre-ordered The Last Reaper. But so back to this story. Stryker's War, he wrote that for the Order of the Centurion spin-off series from Galaxy's Edge, which, if anybody's read it, of course, is amazing. Jason Onspach, Nick Cole are incredible writers. They have a brilliant editorial team, of course, and all kinds of good stuff. But when you start getting into something of such a grand epic scale, and you're dealing with more traditional type publishing mythologies, like going directly with Audible, then you have to, we're the dog, we're the tail, we don't get to wag the dog. So they have things they have to set up. They have production schedules. They have really high-powered audiobook narrators that are contracted for these things, and they can only read a book so fast. So Josh and I talk a lot about these. I'm writing a book for the series. It's not done. I'm in the middle of the editing process that they sent back to me and trying to get it out there. And I know that my book will be delayed because I'm several books later in the series. They're non-sequential. They're standalone books. So Josh is expecting his book to go live like this fall sometime, and then the ebooks and paperbacks 6 months after that. Well, then the other day I actually saw it on social media. I saw somebody say, "Hey, look, Stryker's War's alive on Audible," and they're making comments. And he goes, "Oh, actually, that's a typo. That's a mistake. It's not going to be out for a while. We'll get you some more details when we learn more." So, but then lo and behold, joke's on you, Josh, that it actually has been published, that there was a big miscommunication, and now Stryker's War is out there. So you can go to Amazon or Audible and search for Stryker's War by Josh Hayes and find that. I recommend that you do because I think it's going to be a good one. Some of the beta team, one of the things about Galaxy's Edge is they have a very deep and robust team of beta readers. And a lot of them are veterans or no veterans or, have similar experiences. And some of those said that the ending of that is just absolutely brilliant. Bring tears to your eyes. Very intense book. So that's Stryker's War with Josh. That's 2 of my Friday 5. Boy, this is a long one for just a Friday 5. Let's see. So 3 of 5 on a totally unbook related type of point is hydro massage beds. I have had some hip flexor and maybe it's a psoas, I think that's how you pronounce it, connection and IT band issues for years and years. The IT band stuff probably started over 10, maybe 15 years ago, and I've always struggled with it in my right leg. And for the longest time, I could not get my right IT band to give me a break. I mean, I might get it to feel okay, but the minute I ran for more than a half a mile, I might finish like a 3-mile run. But if I went more, anywhere near that half mile or more, then I was going to pay for it all week. And it just was difficult to do all the therapy and foam rolling and crazy stuff. But then I finally kind of got around it, sort of. I mean, if I'm careful. But then my left hip starts acting up, and it's from sitting like I'm doing now, sitting in the patrol car or my personal car, sitting at the desk writing books, sitting at the desk at work, and then jumping up and going on a hot call. And it just is, it's like kind of that low grade pain that never goes away. It is sharp enough to wake me up at night a lot of times. And I've tried everything. I've gone to the doctor, obviously. I've gone to the chiropractor. I've had, the kind of entry level exams like X-rays and all that stuff. Had an MRI, talked to a surgeon that evaluated the MRI. I've had dry needling, which kind of helped for a little bit, but I kind of ran out of money and needed to move on to new things, and just no relief. Now, part of the problem. Hold on a second. I got to itch my ear. Part of the problem is that I'm kind of stubborn and I don't want to stop working out. So I was doing squat every day, which sometimes the squatting every day made my hip feel better. So I was like vindicated. I'm going to squat every day as heavy as I can, but not too much volume. And then I get carried away. And then running, I go to Orange Theory Fitness. I like to run, and my wife will be on the treadmill next to me a lot of the times, just smoking me. So I'm trying to run better. And that beats me up. Well, finally, we get a membership in the bad winter months for the Planet Fitness, and I do my workouts. I do some weights in the morning. It's not my favorite place to do cardio because, well, it's just they have different machines. And at the end, I do a hydro massage bed, and I'll work my back, posterior chain, and all that stuff, which is what they're really made for. But then I'll kind of cheat. I'll kind of crank up onto my side and get some hydro massage action on my IT bands and a little bit of my hip. And if I do that every day, I feel much better. So this is the part of the newsletter that's a happy ending because it's actually helping, and I like it a lot. I haven't been today because I got up in the middle of the night and then I slept late, and I don't know if I'll get there today or not, but let's hope so. Fingers crossed. My fourth Friday number 4 is Shorty and the Brits. Now, in most of my newsletters and podcasts, I would have put this up front. I would have put it there with the Chronicles of Ken Rowland promotion because this is a new release. Shorty and the Brits is a short story, but there's a cool story behind Shorty and the Brits. So I wrote Shorty because I was doing a lot of collaborations. I was very bogged down with deadlines and whatnot. But I wanted to do something for just myself, just a solo gig, and put it and publish it to kind of keep Amazon reminded that I also publish things by myself, and maybe they should let people see them. There's a lot of debate about rapid release schedules and how Amazon and their algorithms treat books. I didn't want them to think that my account was dead. So I still am linked to books I write with collaborators, and that affects my author rank. Thank you, Richard Fox, Jeff Chaney, and Craig Martell for boosting my rank. But I don't think it really affects my own personal sales that much. So I thought I got to do something for myself. I was listening to some audiobooks. Actually, I was listening to Dragonland, the final edition of it, that I produced myself through ACX using Reese Allen Morse as a narrator. So I'm just listening for like a long period of time, like 9 hours, and I needed something to do, and I like to play with Photoshop. So I made like 10 book covers, and I thought, hey, this could be a short story. So I just started pansting, writing by the seat of my pants, a short story. I used some of the World Bible from the SMC Marauders and assumed that Shorty is 500 years in the future of the SMC Marauder series. And I wrote it in first person, present tense, with no real consideration about, no self-editing. It's like, I don't care what people think about this. I'm just going to have fun, and people like it. So far, a small group of people have been exposed to Shorty, the Shorty verse, and enjoyed it. So Shorty is a mech pilot. His real name is Chandler Dane, but everybody calls him Shorty because he's in a small mech, and he's on a planet called Doomsday, which is like this big, massive kind of would be like a post-apocalyptic, might look like a scene from I'm so embarrassed. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Terminator, like that, where it's just piles of machines and bones, and there's very few parts of Doomsday that are like even livable. And if you're not in a mech, you kind of need to at least some of the time have some like gravity resistant suits and technology, so you don't just get worn down by the brutalness of Doomsday. Very cool planet to write a story on. But it's become a place throughout the last 500 years where they manufacture mechs, and controlling Doomsday gives you the ability to produce more mechs and eliminates or restricts the ability for other, political powers you might be against, whoever you are, to make their mechs, because this is where the best ones are made. And it's kind of deteriorated into this just melee of fighting over, these little fiefdoms, or manufacturing plants, or foundries, as I call them in the story sometimes. and there's a bunch of mercenaries who run around and salvage scraps and do ambushes, and they're just kind of, fringy type, barely surviving type of mech warrior mercenaries. And that's Shorty. And he's a solo guy. He's real cocky. He's got some family that are in the actual military. He's very loyal to them. Shorty's that guy you want to be your friend because he's funny and he'll throw down to pull you out of a tight spot in no time at all. So I write Shorty. Devin C. Ford, who's a really excellent author in England who writes the After It Happens series. He reads it, and because I know him and we message each other all the time, and he says, "Hey man, I really love that story. I've read it several times. I dig it. Would you mind if I give it a shot? I want to write something in the Shortyverse." And I said, "That sounds cool. It's a huge compliment." Now, I've never sought or allowed anybody to write in my universe because I feel there's a huge responsibility hosting somebody into your universe, and I just don't know that I have the time for it. So I'm not looking for a whole bunch of people to send me their stuff. I have mixed feelings on fan fiction. I know like George R. R. Martin doesn't like it. I think, it's free country, do what you want. But um, it's a sad fact that authors often get ripped off. People pirate their stuff all the time. I don't really care because somebody who pirates my book wasn't going to pay for it in the first place. So whatever, my general rule for people, if they want to, I'm going off topic here. If people want to publish my story in China and try to collect money from it, I mean, I think they should not be a dick. That's one of the rules that I live by. But can I stop them? I don't know. Maybe some regulatory agency should do that. Anyway, the point is that I just haven't been. I haven't. That fan fiction's fine, but this was different because this was a friend who's a good writer wanted to take a crack at Shorty, and Shorty's a very unique story. So that's kind of ballsy to jump in there and write it. Well, Devin clearly up to the task. He wrote an awesome story that we eventually decided to name Shorty and the Brits. He sent it to me. I tinkered with it a little bit, didn't have to do much. I changed a few things that I thought met the canon. I changed a little bit of how Shorty talks because he has a distinct way of talking. The actual story is all Devin's, and I sent it to Ellen Campbell because she's really adopted this project and has always, made some time out of her busy schedule to help me with it. And the Shorty stories would not be the same without Ellen editing them. Because one, she kicks my ass and knows when to say, listen, she knows how far to push as an editor. And if you don't have a working relationship with an editor, and I've had editors send me stuff that like it was too much, like they didn't warm me up first, and it just about gave me a nervous breakdown because they want so many changes, or you don't understand their changes, or you don't agree with their changes. But with Ellen, I've come to learn over the last year and a half or so. Hold on a second, I got a visitor. What's up? I'm doing a podcast. Okay, I'll be done in a minute. All right. But I know it's going to be better. I trust what she does. I like what she does. I like the way she makes my writing improve. So Shorty and the Brits is going to be out June 5th. It's currently up on pre-order. And I did it but like that because Shorty will be free on June 7th. Now they're only 99 cents because they're between 10,000 and 12,000 words each. There's now 4 of them. They all need reviews. Hint, hint, hint. Is that a weird winky face? But you can get one for free. You can read them for free if you're in Kindle Unlimited, which is, that's actually, I think I actually make more money if people read them in Kindle Unlimited. I don't really know exactly. I don't track my data quite that strictly. I just try to see if I spent this much on advertising, did I make more than that eventually? And that's a little bit of a hit and miss. Anyway, Shorty and the Brits, it will be out. I kind of redid the book cover a little bit because I didn't like the way the fonts looked. So I'll be uploading all the book covers with the new lettering. That goes back to the original part of the story, is that I came up with these ideas while I was just randomly making book covers while I listened to the final proof of my Dragonland, which is urban fantasy. If you like science fiction and urban fantasy, I got some of that. I know a lot of people that subscribe to my newsletter they like science fiction. They like military science fiction. They're not into the urban fantasy. Some are, some aren't. So obviously no pressure there, but I would love for you to read my Son of a Dragon Slayer series too someday. Well, I'm just pushing books like crazy. I'm a terrible person for doing that. But, I'm a writer, so I would like to retire from my current job in the relatively near future. I've done 23 years. I've kind of put in my time. I've been through some nasty stuff, and I've always wanted to write for a living, and that could actually happen, but it takes a lot of support, and there's a principle, and I know people who just are just here to hang out and read books probably don't care, but there's a principle called, you'll hear in marketing thing, it's called 1,000 true fans. If you can find 1,000 people that like your writing enough to basically buy everything you put out, they love it, I love to write it, then you can make a living. And that's what I'm working for. I'm working for to find 1,000 people that like what I'm writing. And if it was more, that would be even better. But that's a good thing. And a short segue before I get to point number 5 of my Friday 5 is I've always been a lifetime reader and audiobook listener, and I love movies. I love anything with a story. My friends at work or at family gatherings and friends and stuff that tell stories, and I always appreciate a story well told, no matter the format. But so when I sit, but you can never find the perfect story for you. So I write my books. I'm like, I write for myself first. I'm like, how would I want this to write? And like, I'm a big fan of the everyman type of book where somebody is kind of fighting against the odds, like kind of like the hero's journey of like somebody like Harry Potter, who obviously can't face Voldemort, um, but has to grow and change and get stronger, and he's clearly the underdog. I like that, but I also like, I guess it's kind of the protector type stories, like you would think of like Die Hard or or Taken, or even some of the aspects of Star Wars and some of those stories where you have um, a truly heroic character who is flawed, because it would be really kind of boring if they weren't somewhat flawed, um, who puts it on the line for friends and family or for a cause they believe in, and that's the core of what I write. Um, and I also really like to combine that with somebody who's an underdog, but then still becomes that person. So that's even better. Lots of different things. We could geek out about writing stuff all the time. So that brings me to the last point of my Friday Five. And we defined the Friday Five by um, stuff that keeps me awake at night, or I think about, or I think, I kind of was jokey about it in my newsletter about what that is. But basically, it's stuff that I think about all the time and can sometimes keep me awake all night, or is important to me, or I think other people might want to know about. That's the big thing. So in my newsletter, this section is titled Real Life. And it talks a little bit, not in huge great detail, but it talks about recent mandatory training that we had in my department. And we have it twice a year, and it's always different. And usually it's, policy updates, legal briefs, theories about community policing, or like victims advocate stuff. And we've had some where it was like we had representatives from like different groups where they, like, if you're dealing with somebody who's hearing impaired. Hold on a second, I got another visitor. Can you wait? I'm recording. Okay. In 15 minutes, tell her I'm finishing up a podcast and then I'll be up there. We're going to Costco because I want to get protein bars. But anyway, so we have those trainings, and those are all pretty good, but they're like a classroom format. You sit in class. Sometimes you take notes. Sometimes you just listen. Oftentimes you try to stay awake because it's like 10 hours. If you're a 10-hour employee like me, actually 10 and a half because I'm a supervisor. And so you got to sit there and listen for 10 hours and drink like even more coffee than when I write. It's scary. And then try not to eat all the snackies that they have in the back of the room if they've sprung for that. Because if they do spring for any snacks, it's always like crap, like donuts and, M&M packets or something, which I love, but I also don't like to just sit there and eat it all day for obvious reasons. But anyway, but this was different. So this spring's mandatory training, the SWAT team had been working on new building clearing techniques they wanted to teach to the new rookies and people that are training in the academy, but they came to understand, and staff, the staff being, captain and up, and everybody who's involved with, the personnel and budget and stuff like that, decided that yes, if you're going to change how officers from this day forward clear buildings and respond to active shooters, then you better train everybody because you don't want to. I don't want to show up and do one methodology that we learned 5 years ago when I was still on the SWAT team, and then have all the officers doing something totally different because it has changed. Some of the principles are very similar, like how you clear a room, you cut in the pie, and stuff like that. But there are also some things of how you assess where you're going to go next and how you communicate, and that's changed. And so I went to this training. It was a 2-day training. It's like real training. And when I say real training, I mean you have to do something. You don't sit there and listen to the information. You got to put on a mask, get a paint gun, get your radio out, move with your team. They will fake dispatch you to the scene. Well, first we did the first day was all just building search. That's like you show up to a burglary in progress and you need to see if there's anybody in there. You get your people, you go in there, you clear it safely, and you move certain ways. You do certain things. You communicate with dispatch a certain way. And then day 2 is the active shooter, which is what's called a murder in progress. So this has been in the news a lot lately. Everybody probably knows that law enforcement has to be ready for those types of things. Not everybody knows that you can't just call them the Navy SEALs. One, they wouldn't be ready for that. And two, except in very rare circumstances, it's illegal for the military to take police action within our borders. It's a Posse Comitatus Act or something. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So, I remember when 9/11 happened, people were like, well, just have the Navy SEALs come and do all this anti-terrorism stuff. Well, they need to do that overseas. They can't do it inside the United States. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. So the police have to be ready to deal with your active shooters are not usually backed by a foreign military or something, but they're still very dangerous. They use more and more advanced weapons. Sometimes there's more than one, which makes things a lot more typical. But we could also be dealing with a terrorist attack. So if you had something like Beslan in the United States, the police would be on the hook for that, and it would be bad. So we have to be ready. But then we also have to just go out and be normal people and not be militarized as a lot of people complain the police department are now. Well, the reason for police militarization is because if I go up against somebody with an AK-47, it might be neat if I had an armored car so that I could go up there and secure the scene, get out all the innocent people, and maybe negotiate a resolution rather than just have a gun battle in the middle of whatever neighborhood this kicked off in. So when people see police wearing tactical gear or driving armored cars, they're not doing that because they just want to it's not because the drug war necessarily. It's because the police in our country may have to fight military type engagements without the help of the military, and we're not trained to do that or equipped. So that's why that's there. That's why you have SWAT teams. Anyway, I digress. Hopefully I didn't just piss thousands of people off. But so the bottom line is with an active shooter, like several have been in the news lately, it's probably going to be, if it's going to be resolved, if the bad guy is going to be stopped, whether taken into custody or shot or whatever, it's going to be a patrol unit. And it's going to be some guy who was taking an auto theft report 5 seconds before the call came out is going to have to flip the switch and switch gears and run in there and go into a gun battle where statistics recently have shown, FBI statistics, that in active shooter scenarios nationwide, the officer, a lot of times it's one officer who goes directly to threat and stops them. Sometimes citizens take care of it before we even get there, especially in the Midwest where everybody has guns and carries them. But if an officer is the one who does it, it's probably gonna be the first guy to get there or gal, and they run in there and they engage the bad guy, and at the very least, they keep them busy so they stop killing innocent civilians. Now, what the statistics show, what I keep talking about, is that this officer responds, shoots the bad guy, will then 1 out of 3 times will then be shot by the next responding police officers because the environments are crazy. People don't always have enough training, enough practical training. And I'm sure our military veterans, if they're here watching this, will know that when you get into combat, your perceptions are different. Time moves differently. And it's easy to come around the corner, see somebody shooting, shoot back and realize, oh, I just shot, another cop. And why I bring all this up is because I think training is important. And it just really affects me because it makes it real. It's like, so one, I will either get there first and do what I need to do because I work in the day now when a lot of these things happen. And so I'll either get there first and then have to deal with somebody coming up behind me, assuming I can actually put an end to the incident, or I will be the second person that will rush in there thinking the fight's still going, and then have to make a split second decision whether I will shoot somebody who is actively uh, causing death or great bodily harm to citizens or law enforcement, um, or somebody who I think through the smoke and haze and screaming is the bad guy, but is actually an off-duty detective who's just got a little badge hanging around his shirt or something that decided to run in there and save his kids who happen to go to that school. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling. This wasn't meant to be anywhere near that long or that dark. I don't normally talk about work and those types of things, but it's important. I don't like to get in social media political fights. It's not worth my time. I don't feel like I can convince anybody to change their political views, nor do I want to. I'm just talking about the I guess the people doing the work, because when it comes to a tragedy like this where there's an active shooter, it doesn't matter what people's political affiliations are. All that matters is that the police show up and stop somebody, whoever, for whatever reason, from killing kids or whatever. And that's what cops do. Now, people may or may not like the police, but I don't know a single officer who didn't at one point in their career didn't start their career to do something heroic. Nobody. That's why people become police officers. Um, Now, do they change? Do they have bad influences? I don't know, but I know that my job is to protect, and there's limitations. There's. Let's just say this: it's hard to find. People are not applying for police work because it's a miserable job in some ways. They'll just stop there. Moving on. Friday Five over. Rant done, ramble done, and we'll go on. So anyway, I've done this my day job for a long time. I've had a lot of satisfaction. I've done some cool stuff. I've had some wins. I've had a lot of frustrations with it. That doesn't change the fact that from a very young age, when I was a child, my goal in life was to become a full-time writer, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm writing these books. I will send this out. Hopefully people will buy them and review them. I will go to work and feed my family with that. That's a good steady, that's the thing, is there's lots of job security in what I do. It may not pay a lot, but it gets it done. And then maybe in a year or so, I'll be doing my Friday Five, talking about how I finally retired and gone full time as a writer. It'd be very exciting. I'll have a big smile on my face. It'll be crazy. I may even shave by then. So anyway, have a great weekend. If you're watching this before Friday, I guess that's a bonus, but I will release a link to this in my Friday Five newsletter. So if you're signed up for my newsletter, I appreciate you. I would love to have more of your friends who like the same types of writing join the newsletter, or contact me. It's the Scott Moon Group on Facebook, or just read the books and hopefully get something out of them, at least pass some time and have some enjoyment. So take care. God bless. And we will see you next time. I got to figure out, oh yeah, there's the button. So I'm going to click, I'm looking at the camera and I'm clicking the end stream. Bye. Maybe. Are you sure you want to end? Are you sure you want to end your stream? I do, as a matter of fact. And that's why I did the really corny goodbye wave and was clicking the button at the same time like I'm doing now.